TPCSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download.
2,000 years long, we will never settle. Hard days, no rain with a heavy metal. No time, no fail, won't stop here. Like a torch to a flame when it burns hot. Won't stop. Come on, baby, higher.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's that time of the week for Tea Time Wagers. Torrey Pines, and Wednesday through Saturday. They don't want to mess with the NFL. Actually starts in less than an hour. So, we're going to bring in the star of this show, the expert himself, Mr. Brady Kannon, at Las Vegas golfer, at Sports Grid, to break down this event. I've done some homework. I was actually listening to Sirius Radio the other day, Behind the Ropes or something to that effect, talking about Scotty Scheffler and his hand, and Xander Schauffele, the rib injury, like a muscle, which seems like it's going to be lagging for a while. But first and foremost, breaking news, Will Zalatoris withdraws. So if you have him in DFS, any kind of plays, he gone. So make sure you check your lineups there. Shout out to Elijah Cox. Couldn't have done it without you. The best in the business, of course. Shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play. Download that app. It is free. Viva Tequila Seltzers. Six flavors, 2 new ones, Lemon, and the East Coast is Cuckoo for Coconut. And last but never least, Atlanta Steaks and Seafood. Head on over to Facebook. Introduce yourself to Terry Smith while you're there. Jump back over to atlantasteaksandseafood.com. Use the promo code STEAKS10. Get 10% off your whole order. Take a look at the 4 subscription packages. Steaks, chops, seafood. Start eating healthy. You still got time. We're not done with January. Click one of the boxes every 30 days. Boom. A box of food to get you through the next couple of weeks. The only thing you're going to have to keep up with is the propane, not the food. So without further ado, let's bring him in. Mr. Brady Kannon.
Mr. Dawson. Yeah, the breaking news. WZ is a WD. And that is really shocking. And I feel bad for the young man. He has seemingly turned a corner this year. Of course, he had the back injury, had the surgery, missed a lot of time, did not play all that well, sparingly, showed up on occasion last year. But now here in 2025, he's looked really good. And it looked like, and a lot of people were landing on him this week as a guy that was really ready to make a charge. He's done very well here before. I remember a few years ago, I was on him, and unfortunately he lost in a playoff to Luke List, but this has been a very good course for him. Torrey Pines and the Farmers Insurance Open. So it's a shame to see him withdraw. And I was telling you backstage, I got the information from my friends at BetMGM as far as ticket count and liability and that type of thing. The highest ticket count for the Farmers Insurance Open, which, by the way, you said they'll first the first peg will go in the ground in about 30 minutes. Ludwig Oberg, highest ticket count. Will Zalatoris, second highest ticket count. Hideki Matsuyama, third highest ticket count. Now, highest handle, who's getting the most money? Ludwig Oberg, highest handle. Will Zalatoris, second highest handle. Third highest, the Aussie who's been playing well, Jason Day. Now we go to the real nuts and bolts, the biggest liability. Who's going to hurt the books the most if they win? Number 1, Oberg. Number 2, Zalatoris. Number 3, Jason Day. They don't have to worry about Willie Z anymore.
And getting excited. We're going to be talking before you know it, Brady. We got 9 days left in January. We know what happens once we get to February. Yeah, February 9th's the Super Bowl. Then half the world just goes into hibernation till Labor Day, until football starts. For us in golf, we're starting to get lathered up. You know, you're just 6 weeks away from Magnolia Lane, and now a lot of people withdrew this week. Can you give me any explanation why? I mean, we know there's a few injuries, but this doesn't have the lather, it seems, that it usually does. This is Torrey Pines here.
Yeah, exactly. This is Torrey Pines. This is big boy golf. This is a host of 2 U.S. Opens, won by, big stars in the game, Tiger Woods and Jon Rahm. This is always where my season kind of begins. I use the first 2 Hawaii events and the American Express as a little bit of a warm up to kind of get a feel for things, who's playing well, who's not, and then we start big boy golf. We go to Torrey, we go to Riviera, we go to Pebble, we go to Phoenix, and then we go to the Florida Swing, and it just kind of starts to roll from there. And the next thing you know, like you said, you're taking a trip down Magnolia Lane, and the first major is upon us. But Torrey Pines has lost some of that luster, really, I think, ever since Tiger, has not become as much of a factor because of the injuries, and he's just no longer, the major part of the game that he was back in the day. He typically used to start his season here. And of course, he attracted, a lot of folks that would come along with him, and you'd have a tremendous field here. And not that this field is bad, it just got a little weaker without Willie Z, but we're also missing Xander Schauffele, who you mentioned is dealing with injury. That's unfortunate. Doesn't look like he's going to be back anytime soon, or a soft tissue rib injury. The way you swing a golf club, it seems like that would take a while to heal. We're hoping Scotty's going to be back next week. We're not entirely sure about that. Rory doesn't seem to ever show up at Torrey unless it is hosting a U.S. Open later that year. Of course, we've lost some of the live players, Koepka, Rahm, Cameron Smith, some of those guys that DJ used to show up here every year. So that's all unfortunate, but hey, the golf course hasn't changed. It's still almost 7,800 yards. It's still a beast, and it's the test has not changed. The field may have changed a little bit, but for me, this is still the beginning of the rest of the year.
And I had some driving to do earlier this week, so I turned on Sirius Radio. I says, let me catch up on some PGA homework, and I think it was Behind the Ropes or something to that effect. Late in the afternoon, they brought someone on to talk about the 2 injuries. Now, Scotty's rate, it seems like a big chunk came out here. The hand, he hasn't fully swung yet. I saw him working out earlier this week. To duplicate what he did last year, he's not human. That's where the brain is. But every week that passes till you get out there to build up that callus and the hand there is another week closer to the Masters. And then Xander, as you said, that rib muscle, wasn't it last year he changed his swing and he wanted the more speed, the more torque? And it was just like, if that was the case, I would assume that's how that injury occurred, Brady.
It's very possible. And I'm not aware of, I don't know the depth of swing changes and whatnot. I was not aware, and it's very possible. I'm not positive about that. He may have heard it at the TGL event, when he played a few weeks back. That could, and maybe that's where you aggravated it, because it's possible that that's a little bit different than being on a traditional golf course. I don't know. It's just, people get injured, athletes get injured. I'm not really sure where that came from, but it seems understandable that's not uncommon to have an injury in your, abdominal area with muscular and stuff like that, because that's the area that's taken the most abuse, the back, the abdomen, everything in that core area. Not surprising to see an injury come from there. The Scotty thing, obviously a fluke deal. Apparently he was making raviolis or something over Christmas, and he'll be back. And you just hope it doesn't affect, the Scotty Scheffler we know and love. I don't know if it certainly affects his practice regimen, at this point, but we just got to sit and wait. Number 1 in the world, number 2 in the world. They're both not with us right now.
Well, as you said, less than a half hour before they tee this one off. So I'm going to give you your breakdown, your correlated courses, and what you're seeing in this tournament at Torrey Pines.
Okay, yeah, very good. It like I said, big boy golf. It may be the longest course they play all year on tour at nearly 7,800 yards. That's the South course. They will play 3 rounds on the South course. There's also the North course where each player will play 1 round, much shorter, under 7,300 yards, about a 2-shot difference between the 2 courses. It used to be a much larger gap. It was about a 4-shot difference. The South was much harder than the North. Not as difficult or not as much of a difference anymore. Tom Weiskopf came in, God rest his soul. He passed away a few years ago, but he came in recently and did a redesign on the North and closed that gap a little bit. So keep that in mind if you're betting in-game wagering, guys that start on the North, guys that start on the South. The North course in the last couple of years, since the redesign by Weiskopf, has been about 2 shots easier. So keep that in mind going forward. But we'll concentrate primarily on the South because they play 3 out of the 4 rounds there. The biggest stat for me this week is total driving. And that's a combination of length and accuracy. The course is extremely long, and the fairways are also narrow, and they're bordered by thick rough. I mean, it doesn't get much more difficult than that. Now, shorter hitters that are super accurate have done okay here because they're finding the fairway, but I think it is to your advantage if you're a straight hitter and you're long. So total driving, if that's really key, and you look at some of the guys have done well here in the past. Jason Day, when he was at his prime, hitting it long and straight. Tiger Woods hitting it long and straight. And this year's favorite, Ludwig Aberg, hits it long and straight. So, that was probably the most important stat for me this week. Strokes gained approach. How do you do on the long par 4s, 450 to 500 yards? There are 10 par 4s here on the South course. Only one of them is less than 400 yards. The other 9 average over 460 yards. Those are beasts of par 4s. So how are you doing on the long par 4s? Scrambling is incredibly important because a lot of your approach shots are going to come from 200 yards plus. 3 out of the 4 par 3s here are better than 200 yards. You have all these long holes. You're going to be hitting a lot of shots from 200 yards or more. And, that's a long shot for anybody, even the pros. You're going to miss some greens in regulation. So you've got to get up and down. Scrambling is a huge statistic here. And then putting on these Poana greens. Here we are at Poana. We'll be at Poana greens next week at Pebble Beach as well. These are the only 2 courses on tour for the most part that I can, unless they play a one-off course or something. Torrey Pines and Pebble, I believe, are the only 100% POA greens. We do see some POA blends, like at Riviera, the Travelers Championship, and a few different courses here and there, when they stop at a different place for a major championship or something. But Poana, 100% at Torrey Pines and next week at Pebble Beach. And that drives some guys nuts. It gets spongy. It gets bumpy. Some guys are great at putting on Poana. Some guys, it is really their nemesis. As far as correlated courses, it's amazing the connection between this and the Country Club of Jackson, where they play the Sanderson Farms Championship. See a lot of crossover success there. Look at guys that have won there and look at the top 20 on the leaderboard there the last handful of years, and you'll see a lot of the same names at the top of the leaderboard here at Torrey Pines. Probably one of my most go-to correlated courses this week is Quail Hollow, where they played the Wells Fargo, where they will play the PGA Championship this year, where they've played the PGA Championship in the past. Jason Day has won there before. Jason Day's won here before. But total driving is probably the very most important stat at Quail Hollow, and I feel the same way about that here at Torrey Pines. Corrales, where they play the Corrales Punta Cana. Vedanta Vallarta, where they play the Mexico Open, is another correlated course for me here this week. Again, it's those big boy tracks. And Tony Finau. Tony Finau has been a machine here at Torrey Pines. He's finished first and second at Vedanta Vallarta. And John Rahm has also been a force at Vallarta, and who is also John Rahm's called Torrey Pines his favorite course in the world. Won his very first PGA Tour event here and also won a U.S. Open here in 2021. So we'll get to it, Jeff. I started and I played 8 guys this week. And again, I mentioned this is the beginning of the real season for me. I also played each one of them to finish top 20. I typically don't play as many as 8 guys to win outright, but only 2 of them are less than 50-1. So a lot of these guys are long shots where I'm not risking as much money. And that led me to land on 8 guys. I'm not going to land on 8 guys that are all 10-1, but I've got 2 guys in the 20s and the rest of them are 50 and higher. Started with Keegan Bradley. I've seen him anywhere from 22 to 28-1. This guy's been outstanding at this course in the past. 15th on the PGA Tour in total driving in 2024. That's always been a signature part of his game, driving it long and straight. He's had multiple top 10s here, multiple top 25s. I see something in his eye that he is inspired by this Ryder Cup captaincy. I mean, he just looks like he is on one this season, and I think that's going to continue here at a course he's very familiar with. Also, had a couple of good finishes as of late, was 5th in December at the Hero World Challenge and was just 6th a couple of weeks ago at the Sony Open. So the form looks good and the course history is great. And then my other short shot, the aforementioned Tony Finau, just couldn't leave him off the card. I've seen him anywhere from about 24-1 to even as high as 30-1. He has played here 10 times. He's missed the cut just once. On the other 9 occasions, he's finished top 25 3 times and top 10 6 times. He's also finished runner-up once. He's just a machine at this golf course. Over the last 36 rounds, 2nd in this field for strokes gained approach, 19th for good drives gained, and the last 24 rounds, he is 11th in this field for strokes gained tee to green. Okay, now we get to the longer shots. Aaron Rai, 52-1, and I've seen him even higher than that. Not a long hitter, but number 1 in this field for driving accuracy. Pipes it right down the middle. Over the last 36 rounds, he is 9th for strokes gained approach. He's also finished as high as 6th here. And he comes off of some good finishes, was 15th at the Sentry back in January, and then, of course, got his first PGA Tour win last August at the Wyndham Championship. So he's got current form, he's got course history, and I like the way he drives the ball so straight and has good iron play. Then I went to Beau Hossler, 55-1. Last 24 rounds, 21st in this field for strokes gained tee to green. Started his season last week at the American Express with a 12th place finish. He was really hot over the FedEx Cup fall, had 2 top 25 finishes, also an 11th place finish, and lost in a playoff at where? The Sanderson Farms. We mentioned a correlated course. He's also finished 10th there at the Country Club of Jackson in the past. Over the last 36 rounds, the tee to green game is really good right now for Beau Hossler. So if that holds up, he could be really good because the short game is always in check. 22nd in this field for scrambling and 23rd for strokes gained putting on bent grass. And then it went with JJ Spawn, a little bit of local flavor here at 60-1. Grew up in Los Angeles, went to college at San Diego State. He is plenty familiar with this golf course and has been really off to a good start this season. Finished 3rd at the Sony and 29th last week at the American Express. He's got a top 10 finish here in his career, as well as a top 25. He's got 2 top 30 finishes at Quail Hollow. Number 1 in this field for strokes gained approach over the last 36 rounds, 42nd for good drives gained, 29th in hole proximity from 200 yards or better, and 17th on those long par 4s from 450 to 500 yards. And then Gary Woodland, the guy, off of brain surgery, one of the greatest stories on the PGA Tour. The signature part, I talk about Keegan Bradley in total driving. Another guy that just rips the ball and is a great driver of the golf ball is Gary Woodland. Took him at 85-1. Oh, yeah, he's also won a U.S. Open on Poana Greens at Pebble Beach in 2019. He finished 16th 2 weeks ago at the Sony Open. Also finished 16th back in October at the Sanderson Farms. He's played here a number of times. This is also his 16th visit to Torrey Pines. His best finishes here, 9th, 10th, 12th, 18th, and 20th. So he's been very good at this golf course, a long hitter of the golf ball, and really excels in total driving. Then I went to Harris English, who, by the way, finished third at that 2021 U.S. Open when John Rahm won it here at Torrey Pines. He has almost the straight flush here, Jeff. A runner-up at Torrey Pines, a third at Quail Hollow, a fifth at Corrales, and a sixth at the Sanderson Farms. We're just missing that fourth place finish. I wouldn't mind if he finished fourth here this week. We've got him for a top 20 as well. Also 18th last year at Valhalla, another correlated course for me this week where they played the PGA Championship, and 26th at Caves Valley, where they played the 2021 BMW Championship. 12th on tour in total driving last season, and got red hot during the fall for 3 weeks over this FedEx Cup fall with a 6th, a 9th, and a 14th recently for Harris English. Last 36 rounds, 37th in this field for strokes gained putting on Poana, and third in scrambling. And then finally, oh, by the way, English was at 110-1. I've seen him lower than that. And then my longest bomb, I've seen anywhere from 140-1 to 200-1. I'm going back for the second week in a row to Henrik Norlander. Like Aaron Rye, brutally accurate off the tee, 55th on tour last year in total driving. Exceptional ball striker. He's fourth in this field on the par fours of 450 to 500 yards over the last 36 rounds. And he's had some tremendous finishes on the correlated courses. He's been as high as runner-up right here at Torrey Pines, 16th at Quail Hollow, 13th at Vedanta Vallarta, and has finished fourth twice and runner-up once at the Sanderson Farms Championship at the Country Club of Jackson. So an 8-pack there for you. Bradley, Finau, Rye, Hostler, Woodland, Spahn, English, and Norlander.
Shout out to Brian Gaskell. He says, hey guys, still tilting Burger top 10, top 20 last week. The Burgermeister got you on Sunday, and he's on Pendrith this week. He says, missed the start, and I was editing my DraftKings lineup with Mr. WD himself, Mr. Will Zalatoris. So I'm excited. And to think about, we get the sweats here Wednesday, Thursday. We got moving day on Friday, and the greatest thing is Saturday is the final round, and then of course Sunday in the NFL. I couldn't have planned it any better, Brady.
Oh man, my hat's off to the PGA Tour. I love it. And this is, I believe, the fourth or fifth year in a row that they've done this with Torrey Pines, because it always falls on conference championship weekend. And, I wish other sports would kind of swallow their pride for a second, put their ego aside for just a minute, and take, a page out of what the PGA Tour has done. When the PGA Tour switched its schedule, went to the PGA Championship in May, they got out of the way of the NFL. Golf basically starts when football is ending, and golf ends basically when football is beginning. And it's all very intentional, as evidenced by what they've done here this week. I think it is brilliant. I mean, you have to understand the PGA Tour is going to get a great deal of viewership because the way they've adjusted this. It would not be the case if they're competing with the NFL on Championship Sunday. They know their place in this game, and I think they've done a great job in trying to feature their sport in the right times of the year, the right days of the week. The TGL, I think, is, placing itself smartly as well. So yeah, hats off to what the PGA has done in my mind as far as scheduling, for sure.
Elijah, quick commercial break, and when we come back, Brady's going to give us what he thinks is going to happen on Sunday, Championship Sunday in the NFL. Stay tuned. We got football on Sunday. We have the upstart no one's ever seen this before. Jaden Daniels, what he has done has been simply miraculous. Goes into Tampa, plays keep away from Baker Mayfield, and a great victory there. And then no one in the world, 10-point underdogs, 10.5. They actually opened, might have closed. It did close at 7.5 at one point with Jeffrey Benson at the Circa. I reached out to him. I'm like, hey, Mr. Benson, you're the only one in the world hanging a 7.5. And he goes, yeah, someone just dropped a big bag on the commies, so I need some Lions action. Not only covered, they win the game outright. And then Lamar and the Ravens, listen, I don't, there's nothing I can say. When you turn the ball over 3 times, you drop a 2-point conversion. Listen, we know the script. Josh Allen had a minute 35, minute 40, and 3 timeouts. They were going to line up Mr. Seabass for a field goal and walk off there. The Chiefs, I thought with the extra rest, they were going to pull an Ohio State, Brady. We were going to see that high-octane Chiefs offense we've been waiting for all year, yet just methodical death by 10,000 paper cuts. Now we have it. Washington at Philly and the Bills at the Chiefs. The stage is yours.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Chiefs did not look good at all. I don't think they've really looked that great the entire season. I think last year they were kind of down and somehow they turned it on and flipped a switch for the playoffs and went all the way to another Super Bowl victory. I think they've looked even worse this year, yet they have a better record. And I was thinking last week, if a good team, I mean, the Texans are good, but they're not quite ready yet. They're not great. If the Chiefs were playing a really good team last week, they would have lost. The Texans, I mean, in every case of all those games, and specifically it started with the Texans, outgained, out first down, out everything, the Chiefs on that game, except for the final score. And now the Chiefs are stepping up in class here. And it feels like it's the year of the Bills for me. I think we're finally going to see the Chiefs fall. And it's hard to say because this seemingly is no longer a storyline, no longer a trend. The calls that they're getting from the refs is just egregious. It's actually disgusting to me. And I don't care if you're a fan of the Chiefs or not. I like to see a fair game called. And it just seems like it's every week. And I believe, if you believe in conspiracy theories and that type of thing, I think the NFL finally has gotten wind of this. And I think the NFL is okay with the Bills taking over and winning this year. And the Chiefs have had their day in the sun for many, many years. What is it? 3 out of the last 5 Super Bowls or something like that. I think the NFL is okay with the Bills advancing this year. And that's that part of the equation. Now, where the game is decided on the field in the trenches, I think the Bills are the better team. I made them a 1.5-point favorite, but I don't think there's a bookmaker in the world that could hang the Chiefs as an underdog because they know they would be inundated with Chiefs money. I think every bookmaker, every sharp bookmaker will tell you that power rating wise, this game is absolutely closer to a pick 'em than the Chiefs favored by 1.5 or 2 points. I think the Bills win this one outright, but Jeff, it's teaser season for me. I wanted to get them to the other side of 8, certainly the other side of 7, and even the other side of 8. So with now the Chiefs being favored by 2, I did a 6.5-point teaser, taking them to 8.5. And no, rather than taking the Eagles down to pick them, no, I took the Commanders to 12.5. And that's kind of an oddball teaser leg to go that route. But I'm going through the 7, through the 8, through the 10, through the 11. So some pretty key numbers there. But more importantly, this is a division game. I don't think Washington loses by double digits. They might lose, but I made the game 4.5. It opened up 5 or 5.5, came down to 4.5 for a minute. Now we're to 6 or 6.5. I think the line is absolutely right there in that pocket. It'll probably close, I would say, about 5.5 or so. I think you'll see a little Washington money here before we kick off. And I think absolutely Philadelphia could win this game by 4 to 6, maybe 8 points at the most. But I really believe the Commanders will keep this close. Dan Quinn and Cliff Kingsbury have been outstanding, not only in division games, but Kingsbury in his head coaching career with Arizona was 7-0 against the number against the NFC East division. So these guys, I've been betting on or against them in division games. I would bet against the Commanders this year on the week before a division game and bet on them in division games, and was very successful just playing that pattern this season. And here we have another division game. You know how division games are. They're typically not blowouts. So I think we'll get another close one here. And it feels like I'm on the very public sides of the Bills and the Commanders. But when you tease it to 8.5 and 12.5, I think I'm well inside these numbers, these final scores.
The last 14 years, AFC Championship, Mahomes and Brady, either both of them in the game or at least one of them. So that's kind of amazing there. We'll have a week off in football next week, but where does the golf go next week?
We've got a signature event at none other than historic Pebble Beach, and we're hoping that Scotty Scheffler will be there headlining the field. Hopefully he is recovered fully from his hand injury, but even if he's not, we'll have just about everybody except for probably he and Xander Schauffele should have all the big names there at Pebble Beach for, again, a signature event where Wyndham Clark is your defending champion. And by the way, the runner-up last year, Ludwig Aubert.
Everyone knows on Twitter to follow you at Las Vegas Golfer. But as we always end this segment, Brady, where can they find your written work and, of course, your viewing and schedule on the Sports Grid?
Yeah, if you're looking for a last-minute once-over of my article before they tee it up here at Torrey Pines, that's over at golf.com. I'll be on Sports Grid later this evening at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Not sure if I'll be on for the double dip as I normally am on a Wednesday. Went on with Gabe and Cam on Tuesday night because of the Wednesday start here on the PGA Tour.
Brady, always a pleasure. Best of luck this weekend. Hopefully we'll have some Saturday sweats, and then, of course, on Sunday in the NFL. We'll catch up soon, Brady.
Thank you, sir.
One and only Brady Kannon. Go follow him at Las Vegas Golfer. A quick commercial break. Mr. Tyler Wyatt at Tyler Wyatt Bets will be back. Stay tuned. ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app. College football is officially over. We'll have some fun in the upcoming weeks with, the combines, getting ready, who's moving up the boards, who's moving down the boards. But we'll do a quick recap on the game. Where did Tyler Wyatt end up, of course? And then we'll do what we always do, talk some college hoops. So without further ado, Mr. Tyler Wyatt.
What's happening, JD?
What's up, T? How was your Monday? Let's start there.
Not all that great. I was on the wrong side of the national championship game, at least for the game. Had a couple of smaller wagers there on some team totals for the quarters, but yeah, played the right side of the number at least. Saw that number come, go up and go down there, on Monday morning into Monday afternoon, but ultimately back the wrong team there. The Irish, big third down conversion there, 3rd and 11, 53 or 55 yard pass, and then you got a field goal that obviously changes the game. Teasers get there both sides. Did have an NFL teaser that cashed, but yeah, lost a big play there with the Irish. Plus Ohio State, best team in the playoff. Can't take anything away from them, averaging well over 11 points per game, a margin of victory. Just a team that since the Michigan loss has been a completely different team, from what we saw there in the rivalry game. But yeah, it's an Ohio State team that had the most confidence, and Notre Dame team I thought that could get there defensively, just couldn't do enough to slow down Ohio State, unfortunately.
We on all the shows that we were on, I said I was using a cheat code. I thought the Ohio State team total over 27 and a half. There were some 28s. I thought that was the cheat code. Hey, if Notre Dame can muck it up and it's a 21-20, 21-17 game, God bless you. but at some point, the big plays from Ohio State I thought would get through. We also jumped in first half over 21 and a half, 22s, and got the late touchdown there. But what Freeman has done, what the culture, and it brings me up, odds culture, the culture that he has brought, and the fact that they were playing playoff games since week 3, second half adjustments that never die. I mean, Jeremiah Love was just a shell. He was banged up there. Riley Leonard did everything he could, but they made a game of it. And everyone's screaming and hollering, why did you go for the field goal? When you got fourth and goal, he was just saying to myself, listen, I need a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. I need a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. We're down by 16. The odds of getting that are slim. At that point, I'm telling you, I thought it was the right move to try to get the 3 points, cut it to 13. It got doinked. And at the end of the game, it would have mattered.
Well, yeah, I don't know that he was thinking about potential ramifications in the point spread there, but it certainly would have been a big swing monetarily across the country. I did agree that I thought he should have. Well, I thought he made the right call. Obviously, when if he'd made it how the game plays out there, it's hard to say, but there was enough time, I think, in that game that they could have gotten the ball back and ultimately scored twice. But I can also respect an argument on the other side. But I personally think he made the right decision there. It's a team, and I think we even touched on it, that if we were saying if Ohio State got out to a big lead, this would be a tough task for Notre Dame's offense. They're just not built to score quick. They have in the Georgia game, you have the kickoff return, a handful of really big play touchdowns, but they're just not designed to go up tempo, go really fast. They kind of just like to beat you, they like to outlast you in a championship fight. They win by their defense, ball control. When they got out, when Ohio State jumped out to that big lead, I didn't turn it off, but I just felt like there was zero chance. I'm playing poker, looking at the computer, got a couple other screens, got the game muted at one point, and then I look up and see, okay, Ohio State's got the ball. If we force a 3 and out, get the ball back, we can cover, maybe ultimately win the game here. And then the third down conversion, and that was, kind of all she wrote. But yeah, this was a game that Notre Dame should have probably rolled over and just played dead, but they fought back. It was admirable. They take a lot of the traits for their coach. Freeman, kind of a tough, gritty guy, played a tough position defensively there at Ohio State. Riley, Leonard is a tough guy. Jeremiah Love, it's just a tough team, kind of just a blue collar team. And Ohio State is more of the, if we kind of give the car comparison, Ohio State is, the Italian sports car, and then you have American muscle, for Notre Dame. But they're just not built to really go super fast. It was an impressive performance to try to get back into the game. One play there, the third down, if they have to punt there, all the momentum is in Notre Dame's favor. And I do believe if they had gotten the ball back there, they were going to drive down and score. Whether they get the 2-point conversion or not, who knows? But I did think if they got the football, they were going to figure out a way to get this, maybe to overtime. But Ohio State deserves it. And tip your cap to Ryan Day, certainly after the Michigan game. The thoughts in and around Columbus and nationally have changed about as much as you could for a coach who was seemingly on the way out, or at least the fan base already had him, had the bags packed for him, had the moving truck out front. Now, he's, won a national championship, and, I don't know where they are going into 25. I suspect, they'll hit the portal and get a big name transfer quarterback. They have a lot of pieces that return. They're going to be a great team, and probably one of the top 4 or 5 teams to repeat. This is, what Ryan Day was able to do in these last 4 games. And to think that these teams wouldn't have been able to play in this game had the playoff not been expanded, neither in the top 4. You could maybe make an argument that Notre Dame deserved to bye. I don't think so. Join a conference, and then we'll figure all that stuff out. But I think for year one expanded playoff, I come away with, excitement going forward. I think they'll make some changes to either the reseeding process, the format with the buys, and I think ultimately in a couple of years we get to 16. But for year one, I thought it. You have to. I think it's maybe not an A plus, but it's an A for me. There was a couple of games that you could say were off by halftime. A lot of people switching channels. The committee really there. You have to get lucky in some of those games where you have to have those teams not blow the other one out. But for a championship game, the way it started out, it looked like a blowout. Notre Dame kind of slugged their way back into it. All in all, I think the college football playoff and the 12-team format was a success.
Shout out to Debbie Souza Garland. Hey, Dawson, Kansas City Eagles Super Bowl rematch. That's what the favorites are saying right now. We'll see what the Bills and the Commanders have to say about that, but they're the two favorites. Last question in college football for the year. Not a quarterback friendly draft like last year. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May. We didn't see J.J. McCarthy. Oh, and by the way, Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. all within the top 10. This year, Shedeur Sanders, Cam Ward, and the performance that Abdul Carter obviously had in the loss in their final game on Penn State. If I said to you there's a quarterback or two that in the next 6 to 8 weeks are going to climb the ranks, because there's some people that don't even have Shedeur in the second round, and you're taking a big swing, Tennessee Titans, if you go quarterback and take Cam Ward. Flashes, does his game equate? Is there a quarterback or two that we should be starting to keep our eyes and listening for, Tyler?
I'm not high on Shedeur Sanders, and that isn't because of some of the off the field stuff. I don't like his attitude. I don't like the way he kind of carries himself. Cam Ward in an offense, he can do all of the things that you need an NFL quarterback to do. The injury question with Cam Ward is one. How durable is he going to be playing day in and day out in the NFL? You name the name, non-quarterback, and Carter is the guy that I love. If I have the first pick, I seriously consider taking him. I think he is decade, 10 plus years in the NFL, multiple Pro Bowls. This is a guy, I'm not going to label him Hall of Famer just yet. That's, a bit premature on anyone. But this kid could, I think, go in and start, if not day one, within the first couple of weeks. He'll get a lot of play. If he doesn't start in week one, he's a day one type of starter. Shedeur Sanders, the problem there is he's going to go to a really, really bad team. Whether it's the Titans take him, they have so many questions at the offensive line position. It didn't matter if it was Will Levis. It didn't matter, who you put in there. When you have literally zero time to think, you're not going to be able to succeed at this level, no matter how elite a runner you are. Shedeur Sanders athletic enough, but he needs to be in the right system. I think one of those guys that you need to have for, maybe 2 or 3 years before you kind of insert him. Drake May waited his, time, got an opportunity to start for a team that also has a lot of holes. That was not a great offensive line. Vrabel, I think, will fix that pretty quick. I do like Drake May long term, but is he going to be the guy that leads the Patriots back to the playoffs? I'm not sure, but I don't see that with Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, at least initially. This is just a weak class. There are a lot of guys, I think, who will probably opt to go, who in other years, have zero chance being, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th round or a restricted free agent. This is just one of the weaker quarterback classes that we've seen. You mentioned last year, you named 6, 7 guys that started in their rookie year. Bo Nix, a guy that, I think had a ton of success. Penix did some really good things with Atlanta. It was a situation, there where they make the change with Matt Ryan and kind of rely on they had enough faith in Penix to put their playoff fate into his hands late in the season. That at least tells you what the Falcons brass thinks of Michael Penix. So a number of those guys in the class last year saw meaningful reps in their first season. I just don't see anyone one through 4 or 5 in most of the mock drafts that I could say, all right, here's the keys. Let's see what you got. You're going to go to a bad team if you're Shedeur or Cam Ward. So being in the right position, I think, certainly helped. Jaden Daniels. What the Redskins, one, when you're surrounded by weapons, it makes it easier, obviously, when you can run the ball pretty efficiently. The Giants and the Titans are teams that aren't in that position that Washington was. But, going into a situation with a team that has a solid offensive line would certainly help. But all of those guys at the top are looking at teams that need to answer some offensive line questions, some weapons questions before you get into a quarterback. I think this is, not one of those. I wouldn't take Shedeur, wouldn't take Cam. Top 3 or 4 for me. Carter would be it at number 1. But I just so much value placed on the quarterback. Not sure that Carter sneaks into that number 1 or number 2 spot.
Since we talked last week, a week of college hoops, the Zags have a rough week. My Huskies, UConn, just trying to muscle through to get to the end of January so we can get Liam McNeely back. And I said this, a season ticket holder here for years with UConn. That trip to the XL Center, and listen, I know they're doing it for the city of Hartford in Connecticut, but it is the worst venue. There is no internet, and there's no like on top of the court like you feel at stores there. I'm looking at Ken Palm right now. The 4 factors: Auburn 1, you'll like this; Kentucky 2, Alabama, who put up another C note yesterday. Their 6th time they've gone 100 or over. Florida, Duke, Gonzaga, Texas Tech, UConn, Wisconsin, Iowa State at 10. And I was not on them pre-flop, but what'd you see in another week of college hoops that surprised you and a couple flops?
Well, yeah, we saw a lot of top 25 losses between Saturday and Sunday. You had Iowa State go down, Tennessee, Marquette, Kentucky, UConn, Gonzaga, Purdue. These are, a lot of these teams were playing unranked teams. You had 5, I think, matchups out of the 13 or 14 top 25 losses between Saturday and Sunday, and only 5 of those games were ranked matchups. So, proof that at least in terms of the SEC, Big Ten, ACC, and Big 12, you have a lot of teams that aren't ranked that are beating ranked teams. So that, as far as the tournament and the future go, we should have a ton of excitement. But yeah, you mentioned, a team in Iowa State. I have them 8th. We saw Tennessee take a tough one there in Nashville to Vanderbilt. Kentucky goes to Vanderbilt. You saw, obviously, that would go back to the Ole Miss and Alabama game. You have Alabama, losing to an Ole Miss team. Ole Miss gets upset this week. Just the Power 4 conferences, and then you throw in the Big East, West Coast Conference, good conference. But out of those 4, 5, 6 basketball conferences, I don't want to say that the top is weaker now than it's been. It's just the mid-tier teams in those conferences are so much better than they were 4 or 5 years ago. I'm not sure how much of that is NIL and transfer portal and things like that. You can make a case that the NIL, could maybe hurt or weaken some of the teams with the top players that they're able to get. But we've seen through recruiting rankings, it's not really affected the Kentuckys or UConns or Dukes. Those teams are still recruiting, even with coaching changes in some instances at an elite level. But the mid-tier teams in most of these conferences are much better than they were 4, 5, 6 years ago. But yeah, the tone for last weekend was upset central. That's the top 25 between now and the end of February is just going to be a revolving door of a lot of the same teams, and then you're going to introduce some teams week in and week out. You're going to see a lot of teams bounce out, then bounce back in maybe a week or 2 later. The recipe that we're cooking, I think, means that the NCAA tournament could be lightning in a bottle this year. We have literally we've seen it all. We've seen number one teams in the country beaten by 30. We've seen teams that are 20 and 25-point favorites win outright. So we've seen a little bit of everything, and we're not even to the halfway point of the college, almost to the halfway point of college basketball season. But yeah, even yesterday, we saw upsets on Tuesday night. There's a number of games tonight on Wednesday with some ranked teams that need to be on upset alert. And then Arkansas, it's a Georgia team that just got into the rankings. Mentioned that I thought they could get the upset over Auburn there. Auburn, pretty big lead there, and then almost gave it completely away. Georgia with a shot at the end of the game there that could have won it. But yeah, the theme for college basketball this season, you have to be focused every single night. It doesn't matter who you're playing. If you're playing the weakest team in your conference, if you're playing a non-conference team where you're a considerable favorite, you got to be locked and loaded every single night, or you are capable. It doesn't matter who. Anyone capable of losing on any given night. It's not any given Sunday anymore. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Saturday. You can get beat night in and night out. It doesn't matter who you're playing.
We go back old school, as Rothstein says, January, February, Izzo for March. It looks like Michigan State could be that team in the Big Ten. I saw something the other day, and listen, we know BC basketball is not a powerhouse. I get all that, but my eyes did a double take. Duke came into town, and they were at the Celtics game the night before. 23.5-point favorites on the road. And I'm just like, well, how bad is BC gotten, or how good is Duke? And North Carolina loses their 8th game of the year at Wake Forest last night. Now Wake gets a chance this weekend to take care of Duke. There's a big slate tonight. Obviously, you have the slate in front of you for the rest of the week. Is there any edges that your numbers see tonight, or something that you're eyeing later on in the week that for all the standing room only people can get their eyes on for the rest of this week or tonight?
Yeah, Georgia at Arkansas. The John Calipari experiment, at least in SEC play, has not been all that great. I'm actually pretty bullish on Arkansas. I played them. I have that number, Arkansas almost 3. I have Arkansas 2.9, so pretty off market there. Kansas at TCU, I have that number 4.5, so a bit different there than the market. But Saturday, every Saturday and Tuesday and Wednesday in the midweek, the basketball is going to be phenomenal now in conference. Kentucky at Vanderbilt, looking ahead, we'll get that number on Friday. I have Kentucky 1.5. I have a total there at 172. I don't think bookmakers open that over 169. I think we have a little bit of value there on the total. Vanderbilt defensive team. Kentucky, obviously, this season known for its offense. Kentucky defensively, though, has not been all that great. I think Vanderbilt can score there. Houston goes to Kansas, where I have them almost a 4-point favorite. I have them 3.9. I'd be interested to see where they put that number. Part of what we do is we try to anticipate where we think they open the number, and when we also have a number that we use. I would be surprised if they make Houston larger than a 3-point favorite. I think we could have value there. Tennessee goes to Auburn. I have Auburn a 9.2-point favorite. If the Vols are catching anywhere north of 2 full possessions, if that goes over 6.5, I think it's playable. And then Texas. A&M goes to Texas. A&M's been a kind of surprise in the SEC this season. They're inside the top 20 for the first time in my power rating. I have Texas small favorite minus 0.2. I think A&M, we could have some value there. And then Ole Miss goes to Missouri. Missouri, a tough loss last night. Ole Miss played good basketball this season, obviously a big win against Alabama. I have the look-ahead number there. Missouri only 1.8. So I do have Mississippi being a small dog there. If they open that anywhere over a possession, be a pretty easy play for Ole Miss. And then Baylor goes to Utah. Utah, not a great team this season outside the top 50 in my power rating. Baylor just getting into the top 25 this season. They should be short favorites at home. Utah, tough place to play, though. If they open Utah -1 anywhere around a pick, Baylor would be a play for me.
Well, we're now just warming up to the fun. We're mid-season conference play. We'll be going down the lanes throughout the month of February as we get to conference championships and, of course, March Madness here. Tyler, any plans to crack some aces this weekend in poker?
We'll be online only this week. We have WSOP Circuit coming to Cherokee, North Carolina, about an hour and a half from me, starting Valentine's Day weekend for 12 days. So I'll be in Cherokee for maybe not the entire series, but for probably 7 or 8 days. Thought about Tunica. Stop before Cherokee is late this month, and then the 1st of February. So I'll be in Mississippi there for about a week. So a couple of WSOP Circuit stops. Look to play some cash, a couple of the main events there. But yeah, be online only here for a week or so, and then we'll hit the road there towards the end of the month.
Tyler, we can't thank you as always. Go follow Tyler at Tyler Wyatt Bets at Odds Culture. Have a great week. Enjoy the hoops, crack some aces, and we'll catch up with you next Wednesday.
Talk to you next week, JD.
Take care. Tyler Wyatt, go follow him at Tyler Wyatt Bets. Elijah, quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll wrap it up. Stay tuned.
Jared, hey, we're going to need you to tone it down with the Summer Friday thing, okay?
What are you talking about?
Well, for one, it's not summer anymore.
Oh, really?
Coconut. Also, who is this?
I'm the caddy.
Oh, he's my intern.
Sorry, intern. I'm his intern.
Yeah, he's doing a great job.
No golfing in the office, okay? Summer Fridays are over. You can keep the Hawaiian shirt, but the rest of this stuff, all right? Are you grilling?
Oh, yeah. Did you want a burger or a hot dog?
No, grilling in the office.
It's a good point. We should take this outside.
No, that don't. You put that right back down.
Yo, it's all in the hips.
Oh, dude, come on, we gotta go. Let's go.
Love me some golf. Love me some March Madness, and I love me some Wednesdays. What better way to start the day? Brady Kannon at Las Vegas Golfer talking Torrey Pines as they have teed off. So all your golf enthusiasts, we got golf Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then the NFL, of course, on Sunday. Tyler Wyatt at Tyler Wyatt Bets at Odds Culture. Talking the recap of the game on Monday, and of course, talking some college hoops. No one breaks it down better than him with his Odds Culture and his numbers there. 5 o'clock today, the closing bell with Riley Magnuson. We'll do a re-entry Wednesday. We're going to talk what's going on in the world of sports, get everyone caught up on the market today. And of course, couldn't have done it without Mr. Elijah Cox. Thank you for all you do. Tomorrow, 11 a.m., the last show with Paul Stone, as he'll break down what he saw on Monday night's Ohio State-Penn State game. And we'll have him back during some March Madness spots throughout the college hoops as we get closer to that first Monday night, I think, in April, as someone will be cutting down the nets. 11:35. Sean Alvarez, Mr. Smooth Turn himself, will be breaking down the Pegasus as we got a big race this weekend, of course, on the left coast. So for all your horse racing enthusiasts, make sure you stay tuned. For myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, again, thank you to Mr. Elijah Cox. Everyone, enjoy your afternoon. We'll be back at 5 o'clock. Hope you are too. Stay tuned.